As we discussed in our previous module that HT is a total height of a fermenter and L is the height of the working volume. So while designing the body of a fermenter, so we should know different aspects, because while talking about the 13 basic characteristics of a fermenter, so in those characteristics, one character was that when we design a fermenter, that should have identical geometrical shape. So that's why that can facilitate the optimization process when we go from the lab scale to pilot scale and then to industrial scale. So if there is any identity or a similarity in geometrical shapes from the lab scale to pilot scale and then pilot scale to industrial scale, then there will be a very easy to optimize the process and to control the process. As we have already seen that H is the total height of a fermenter and L is the height of the working volume. So just one more point, that P is the width of the impeller. So you can see here that schematic representation of a fermenter with one impeller having multi-blade. Mean sometimes there is a one impeller having 3 blades, 4 blades, 6 blades. Just like that, when there is a ceiling fan having a 3 blades, sometimes we have a pedestal fan that have a 4 blades. So by the same case, in fermenters, impellers having different kind of the blades depending upon the type of the impellers. We will study in detail the different type of impellers later on. But here in this slide you can see that how a fermenter can be having a different dimensions and the parts. Here you can see that baffles. So that is a drain point here. And this is the D, mean the diameter of a fermenter. So if we know that H, L, P and D, then before designing a fermenter, in literature, if we want to design a fermenter having single impellers, then in the literature there are 3 different models are reported. One model is reported by Steele and Mohsin 1961, and the second that was reported by Wagerich and Shelton in 1963, and third that was very famous, that is the fermenter with single impeller reported by Blackborough 1967. So according to these 3 models, they mention different geometrical ratios. You can see the operating volume, liquid height, the ratio between liquid height and the diameter, very critical, and then the impeller diameter and the diameter. So what will be the ratio of the impeller width and to the total diameter of the fermenter, and by this ratio we can design the baffle width, and then by the impeller height, that this is basically that the height of the impeller from the base. So these are the different ratios. So suppose if we want to design a 300 liter fermenter, keep in mind the dimensions given by Steele and Mohsin 1961, we can follow these lines. So if we want to design a fermenter with a single impeller with keeping in mind and shelter, Wagerich and shelter, then we can use these. The same, the Blackborough is very critical because that has given the impeller height and D ratio. So that is 0.33. So by using the geometrical ratio, we can design any fermenter having single impeller. So when we want to design a fermenter, we have to calculate in detail that what is the total volume of the fermenter. So it's a very geometrical formulas. So in case of this, it's a very easy, because if a fermenter is in a such shape, we can just, by using this formula V is equal to pi r square H, by this formula we can calculate the total volume of that shape. But we know that sometimes there is a oblong and a dome shape. Upper plate is not straight, that is dome shape. So in order to calculate the volume of the dome, either on upper plate, either by the round bottom, then we have to follow this formula, that V is equal to pi H over 6 into 3A square plus H square. Here you can see that H is basically the height of the dome, and A is the distance of the periphery from the center. Sometimes H and A are equal to R, but all the time the H and the A are not equal to R. So if we know the H and A of a fermenter, then we can calculate the dome shape and the round bottom, and then by plusing this addition of this two volumes, we can have the calculations of the total volume of a fermenter vessel.